um, like her trying to figure all this out. Sorry, I'm just throwing stuff. Anyway, so that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna let this play, and oh, I need to grab my chat. Sorry, I told y'all this was what last minute research looks like. I I have an issue with it. Somebody sent me this letter, and it just kind of gave me chills because everything about it sounds right. Could be wrong. Could get to the end of this letter, and it could be a lot of malarkey or propaganda or whatever. But I'll tell you the reason why for me it sounds crazy. Because when she read it, you immediately think of all the research that we started doing here. And this is how I try to stay out of my biases, right? So when we were all going through the MK Ultra trial, so I'm going to little rant here. When we went all was going on through the MK Ultra files and the forms and reading all in these operations. I don't, maybe y'all did it. I didn't do it. Hell, let me just speak for myself. I never once said, well, wonder who was president at that time. Because I don't know, because innately did we all just feel like there was corruption everywhere in all these administrations, no matter who was supposedly running it? You know, like, I don't know. I, it's been a tough for me because I fully support Trump. We've lost a lot of things supporting him since the beginning, especially if you're an online content creator. You lost your ability, a lot of the ways to even have a channel, and you lost your accounts, your social medias, all that stuff. So I've always had a lot of faith in Trump because basically how he was treated. He seemed like a good guy. They were trying so hard to shut him up. But I still innately have to be honest about the things even Trump said, where his first mistake was like he trusted people put in his administration that he probably shouldn't have trusted. So you have to open your mind enough to realize that could definitely be happening to him this time around. Or it could just be deep swamp people really ingrained. I've talked about this too, that they don't care who's president because they're still going to stay there in their positions. Okay. So again, and you don't have to liberty line like her. I don't like again, I don't care. I want you to try and suspend your thoughts on her, and I want you to listen to the letter that she reads that somebody sent her. And again, and let me preface this was to it. This matters a lot too. This chick's already facing lawsuits from like the French government because of the Macron stuff she's covered, saying that about her, regardless of how you feel about that story, the fact that Brigitte Macron, had seduced and groomed a 14-year-old kid, um, and wound up marrying him and all that. At least she's at the very least she is a pedophile. I don't know if she's swinging a third leg or not, but we know that nobody seems to really care about it. But anyway, so I'm gonna get to this. So she's fighting. I would think that of all people, Candace is probably going to cross her T's and dot her I's before she come out and says anything because she knows what it means to try and be sued and stuff, especially with her husband in the background, the one that running it. But I just want you to listen to this letter, and y'all can decide whether you think it's crap or not. Okay, you can decide whether you think there's validity to what this person is sitting here kind of knowing what we know. All right, can we
You
do that?
guys.
Can y'all do that for me? Just spit your thoughts on some of the stuff she said, and just let her get to the letter. Yeah, y'all can be my gauge. If you think it's
So, we received a couple of weeks ago a very thorough tip regarding Charlie's assassination and the Egyptian planes. Now, what is even more compelling about this tip is that this individual who works with or for government sent it before I had figured out that the Egyptian planes were tracking Erica and Charlie. Now, the individual also focused on something that at first seems to me to be very micro to the situation, and now it seems quite macro. And it's an answer perhaps to the question, what was the Egyptian military plane which left
so
Provo?
again. This is what's always left me stumped about because these are military. These are Egyptian military. So this isn't like a private plane, some kind of rich person in Egypt flying around like they a baller. Okay, like they're the last Jay Z or something from Egypt. They're military planes. So if you've been covering into these stories, the permission that you would have to get from our government to fly your planes into America, right? You have to. It's just so these planes are tracked inside of our country, right? Okay. These are the things that I listen for that bother me when I'm laying here thinking about a story. These are the things, not who she is or whatever, but the fact these are government planes flying in and out of our country so much. That's
On
what.
the morning of Charlie's assassination doing in Delaware, actually. We should figure that out. Welcome back to Candace. are so many elements of this story that
Here it
as
comes.
time
That's it.
goes on
Right.
are clicking into place. Things that initially, why would they do that? Why would that plane be doing that? Let's pull up that timeline again that I put together of you guys of the blue jet and
You've
the
not
yellow
seen
jet.
like seen none of this where she's actually followed these planes. It's fine. I want to get her to this letter that somebody has written her, sent into her about these planes, about the buildings around there.
To
It give
give
me,
him and her
it gave me the chills. Like typical things don't typically do that without me feeling like there's truth to it. And again, I could be a whack job. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about or what I'm doing, but
even some more
freak me
coverage.
out a little bit. Freak me out a little bit.
Even though they said that they were very thorough in making sure it wouldn't get back to them, but you never know. They're
Hell,
taking a
me.
tremendous risk. So I'm just going to read this to you guys, and I'm going to read it slow for comprehension because I had to read it slow myself for comprehension. It starts out with Candace, I'm aware that you suspect the government and other entities are involved in the events leading up to and on September 10th. I am aware that you also tied the plane, SUBTT, yellow plane, to this and that you are receiving tips. You might have been wondering why SUBTT made so many visits to Wilmington, Delaware, out of all places, and I can personally answer that. What I can say about myself is blank, blank, blank. I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that. Some people may tell you that SUBTT stopped at Wilmington because it was quote unquote just maintenance. That is not true. The information I am giving you will implicate the FBI and various other government agencies all at the same time. I am passing this to you because you are honest enough to see this for what it is. You may put this in your notes and reveal this pattern publicly, but this, and then he talks about why this information is dangerous. So I'm going to skip and get to the information portion. The information portion reads this. As you know, on September 10th, an Egyptian government Dassault Falcon 7X tail number SUBTT
Oh shoot!
references
Look at what I did. I was sitting all the way up here because I tried. See, that's what you did, Roddy. That's what you got me to do. I then spurred out and hit the wrong button. But you posted something in chat that that is the core of it to me in a way. Like Candy asked this never mind now. If you don't have, well, I see that's uncalled for. Sorry, I was like I was going to read Roddy's and I read Walking. I'm like, well, why you got to post crap like that for? This is what I don't like. Like you don't have to agree with it, but like those name calling stuff. Anyway, this is when he said when you are divided and angry and controlled, you target those different from you, not those responsible. Like that's what I feel. I feel like the intention. I'll tell you, I'm gonna let some more of this play, and I'll give you my opinions at the end. What I think could be really going on to a lot of this, but there's truth to that
but
statement.
I do know that only federal vehicles are allowed access to private gates housing government planes. Because of this, I can guarantee you that the vehicles affiliated.
Oh, I went too far. Sorry. Hey, that's just spurging out.
And get to the information portion. The information portion reads this. As you tried to pull non-public movement data and it came up empty. For me, this means that the arrival was processed under a diplomatic and dignitary category, which would not show up in the usual places. That in and of itself wouldn't be.
See what Liberty Line posted is cool. I have her number, no trust her. I'm fine with that. You don't have to trust her, but like calling her like candy ass, like I don't know.
Odd if we were talking about Andrews or Dulles airports. It's odd at Wilmington. You can't verify this next piece directly, but I can independently. I can confirm that blank uses vehicles which often leave and enter that airport when they do covert handoffs. Now, I have no affiliation with SUBTT, nor am I an operator anywhere near Egypt or its planes, but I do know that only federal vehicles are allowed access to private gates housing government planes. Because of this, I can guarantee you that the vehicles affiliated with this workspace arrived and left inside the same window as SUBTT. Government vehicles.
So if you don't know, a couple shows ago, she actually showed released these rental cars that had been rented from there, released it complete with the license plate numbers for and then track those down for the people that were on these planes, the rental cars that they rented to ride around. It's crazy. I'm just
either pick up monitor, or escort every government plane that lands there. So that's the standard. It's every single one. Feds don't just leave foreign government planes unwatched. It's a government plane, not a ghost plane. Someone has to come out, and we all know they're not going to just call an Uber. Given that I know most of the locations that these vehicles visit, I am entirely confident in stating that the plane and those vehicles are connected to 920 North King Street, which is at a place that is.
Well, see, that's what I don't want you to do. Well, Shell can't hear me. But it's not about her. It's about the information, right? So, like, this is kind of, I think all these things happen in my life for a reason. So, like in the Q days, when we were all digging and doing all this research, and a drop would be posted, you have people taking all kinds of different lanes out from that one post. Somebody might dig into the timestamps. Another person might dig into the acronyms, or they're trying to tie the places together. But you could have all these different people branching out, investigating all these different, I don't know, the thought processes that they deemed after reading it. Hey, what stood out to them? What looks crazy to you? And you could have six different hosts in one post going down six different rabbit holes. So it's always been about the information for me. And yeah, person's reputation does matter for sure. But to me, I'm not looking this as something that she's per se saying, but something I've got to put faith in somebody did send her, right? So that's all I'm trying to do at this point, is have everybody not really focused on her, focused on, do they think this information was sent to her and she's reading it now to you publicly? I personally think yeah, because I think she knows how much she knows she runs the potential being sued, and how many truth bombs she's dropped. To be quite frank with you, because there's even some in this video that are just, she highlights that are just like, what do you? I'll let y'all decide. That's all I'm asking you. You can decide.
Marketed also as One Rodney Square. Nearly every federal vehicle that visits the airport will pass through King Street at least once, because that is where the majority of the vehicles are ultimately stationed. We do this because it is discreet. The reason people don't know about this is because assets can be transferred to cars without diplomatic plates. You can't just do transfers with the diplomatic plates out in the open, or it would immediately tie assets to government. That's why the fleet is either federal, unmarked, or local. So when I say government vehicles, what I'm really saying is they most likely immediately swapped the plates for local, but they still had federal clearance.
Now, see, when they do the things like speculation like that, I kind of omit those. Did they swap the plates? Who knows? That's not really what's important to me. It's like the divulging of the building, what the building's used for, stuff like that.
I'm going to skip this because I think this could be. The whole idea is they get in, they have a meeting, they get out, the plates are then changed back, and they go back to a designated area. However, sometimes it is decided that they need to have a meeting in a more convenient spot, a meeting that's not in a car. That is what I am telling you happened with SUBTT. It obviously would be impossible for me to show you the evidence of these activities.
So I understand what she's saying, making the claim that he is telling her exactly what's up with this one vehicle's license plate and what it was doing. Like, he's not alleging. She's not alleging. She's not a dumb person that knows how to open herself up to a lawsuit. So when she says things like that on air, because who she is, like, again, y'all, I don't know. Y'all decide.
Activities, because I obviously can't do that. I obviously can't pull dash cam or cameras. But I am telling you that this is known among insiders. And if you want confirmation, you can ask Intel insiders of yours. And they will confirm that that is exactly what happened. You may ask why this happened in the first place, and I'll give you my best information, and here's where it gets big. In June of 1997, the Department of Justice's own directory lists, quote, Wilmington Resident Office, 1 Rodney Square, Suite 404, 920 King Street.
Where it gets quite weird.
Wilmington, Delaware, 19801. That is your line to know that it is a federal resident office that is at that exact address. You can open it yourself in this link and look for a page titled 675. Okay, we did that. We confirmed that. Wilmington Resident Office, Suite 404, 1 Rodney Square. And so we can confirm this is like like he says or she says, the Department of Justice is
Oh, Mega Mama, she's talking. He's breaking down for her what these buildings. The curious thing about in this town, like where they use for these buildings where these planes have been that were basically more so following around Erica than Charlie. She gets to it, but they followed her around twice as much. Like went to every place that Erica went. The probability of that happened is very low. Like there's a whole weird lore about these planes that I kind of brushed off in the beginning. It was more so the weird response to like some of the agents, some of the verifiable things they have literally come on here and said that was just a lie. And these are people that were there that day. Again, she gets into a couple of them shows them. I'll let y'all see them. Those are the things where I don't care who you are. If you suspend your belief when you see somebody say, I was there, this is what happened, but then you can verifiably go back and watch somebody else that was there and says this is what happened, and neither one of those things collide, and both of these people were in the car with Charlie when he died. I don't know. Y'all do what y'all want to do with that. I'm gonna show y'all though.
directory list. Okay.
And y'all can do whatever you want to do with it. I promise you, I want y'all to form y'all's own opinion. But all I ask for is that sometimes you have to suspend what you think about a person and listen to the information in order to, like, that's why I listen to like leftist debate. Like, you think I agree with the majority of the stuff that no, but sometimes you understand how the mind thinks.
Today, if you punch that address into public directories, you will find the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, at 920 North King Street. And at the same address, the United States Secret Service, 920 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware, 19801. Both are live. Both are at Suite 404. Both also publish phone numbers. In the Secret Service case, the agency's own 2025 field office list still shows Wilmington, Delaware. That means the suites that the Department of Justice owned in the 90s never actually went away. This eventually evolved into a multi-agency space in a commercial building. The building looks like if you decided to cut the 33 Thomas Street building in half. Seriously, if you Google image 33 Thomas Street in New York City, that's the building that Snowden leaked. Find one.
Thank you, Durango. That's what I mean, like using their comms. That's why the thing that stood out with me when all this division stuff started with trying to break MAGA down, because I'll just go ahead and blow the lid off of what I think at the end, towards the end, like is the whole goal is to I agree with the people that think it's to divide MAGA, but you probably won't agree with me and what I think, who I think that is, and the goals behind it. But like, yeah, ultimately, because MAGA is such a huge force. We've always been, to me, this is, and y'all can disagree again. Me, it's always been a movement about the truth and the justice and transparency, no matter who it took down. Like, no matter, who was compromised. Oh, I forget to post out my donation links. No matter who, like, you feel like the agenda is with or who it's for. So, to me, it's the words. They started using words like platforming. Like they're going to platform. How dare they platform? And it's like, that's the same things that we fought against. Do people not remember that we fought against those words being used against us? How are you going to platform so and so? How are you going to platform this? And the conservatives should be able to go and argue their case on college campuses and stuff like that. And then now I'm watching the same people that built careers off saying that, using those same words when it comes to other people in the conservative movement they don't agree with. Okay, it's okay not to agree with them, but you're calling for their silence. And people in like the OGs in MAGA, us folks that have been through it, for you not to be like, wait a minute now, I thought that's what we stood against. So we stood against speech whether we liked it or not. And like, even again, like I mentioned in my last show, even when it comes to Charlie Kirk, I've seen some horrible things said about him. Then I've watched conservatives screaming for them to be kicked off of social media platforms. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. I thought that's something that we stood against. Did I miss a week of class or something? Because I know it's horrible. Trust me, it pisses me off. I think they're horrible, disgusting, people. Charlie was a huge for. I watched a ton of those man's debates, his TPUSA events, his college campus Q&As. I watched that stuff for the last 2 or 3 years. But again, you're supposed to stand in righteousness when that's difficult to do. And when it's difficult to do is defend someone you really don't agree with at all, to also have the same constitutional rights that you're screaming for. Anyway, okay, so I'm going on a tangent, but yeah, anyway.
That look brown and then compare it to 920 North King Street in Wilmington, it looks exactly like a mini version of the thing. The only difference is that 920 North King has glass windows. Now, you saw people on X saying that SUBTT has an alibi because it, quote unquote, aligns with a long-standing Falcon maintenance arrangement out of Wilmington that dates back to 1999. You remember that, guys? They told us, oh, they were just doing maintenance. This is maintenance here, maintenance there, scheduled maintenance. That's the part that really sent me, because I know that's the part that really set me off, because I know that you are right about the plane. And I also know the truth about this plane. Yes, Wilmington used to have a Dassault Falcon authorized center, but it shut down around 2021. Then, and this is verifiable, in December of 2024, a French aircraft finishing company called Satys, Satys, announced that it was taking over the shuttered Wilmington Airport hangar. And every Delaware outlet said the same thing. Satys will invest a little over $1 million. And get this. So you see that? We are pulling that up. We have confirmed that that is true. This is a French company that said they were going to take over this hangar in Wilmington.
See, now we got the French involved. And that's what I said earlier about Candace accusing Brigitte Macron of having a wee-wee. You know, she's got herself in trouble with the leader of the French government. Okay? Like, it's not some podcaster going after her. It's Brigitte Macron. So there we go. Here comes the French. Sorry.
The Delaware River and Bay Authority is the one that is making that deal. DRBA is a bi-state authority, except the key part is that it operates on federally regulated waterways. Its own January 2024 resolution says that it was, quote, acquiring the rights to a paint hangar currently part of a Dassault leasehold, and authorizing the executive director and board chair to execute that lease with Satys. So that is a River Bay Authority, the DRBA, that is executing an aviation lease on a field that sits on a navigable corridor. That automatically puts it in the orbit of a federal system. The chain here that would report from the people who control the rivers would be...
So, if y'all understand, I'm sure what's going on, but this is all just raising awareness to the fact these were just not like ordinary planes. These planes flying all around the country is strange. They're foreign government planes, foreign government private planes, if you will. You know, it's just a little...
DRBA to the Army Corps of Engineers, the Secretary of the Army and the Secretary of Defense to the President. So now you can say with complete honesty that the federal government was aware of and signed off on the plane and hangar situation. Now, I'm not claiming a direct line of authority for that. I'm saying that anyone who tells you that the influence is not there is either misinformed or lying. I'm also not saying that POTUS himself did this, but the government was undeniably involved with that hangar and the plane that you are eyeing. Not to mention, Representative McBride is the statewide rep for that place. Again, I'm not saying that McBride has anything to do with this because I wouldn't know that, but it is noteworthy. What you can honestly say, though, is this. If SUBTT has been doing this run for decades, it could not have been using a 2024 French finishing lease as its maintenance justification. In fact, your own timeline shows how they traveled to France before the deal was even made. It proves that the maintenance story is nothing but a cover. That hangar is undeniably either another site in of itself or it is a front for something else. Back to 920 North King Street. When you Google FBI Wilmington Resident Agency, you should check the address in the Google info panel. You will likely get 920 North King Street with the label Federal Bureau of Investigation, instead of the public FBI address that's at 500 Delaware Avenue, Suite 300, which is just a bank tower. You can confirm that 500 Delaware Ave is the borough's public-facing spot, but Google will tell you that 920 North King Street is also the FBI. That is not a
Reminds me. Oh, I can't forget to do that when Pano sent me those pictures of the Google building with the snake on it. I don't know why.
mistake. The FBI is also stationed at 920 North King Street. They list it straight in the DOJ's 90s directory. Further, the Secret Service is not a part of the Department of Justice. They are the Department of Homeland Security. So this actually seems to be a joint DOJ DHS site, which verifiably houses 3 different agencies and possibly more, all at the same time. I've looked for a while, and to this day, I don't see any other location that does that. I guarantee you've never personally heard of a federal site operating like that either. No matter what anybody.
And I feel like I really need to do this. I just want to be real clear here. I'm going to be clear with pictures because sometimes I feel like they work the best. Okay. So here's our beloved Donald Trump, right? Here he is. Okay. God love him, but that's his chin. He just got one big old chin. We love him. Okay. Love Trump. Whatever. Okay. And then you've got Pam Bondi. And we know what she did with the Epstein files, right? And then you've got, like, say, Cash Patel, okay? And then you've got a Dan Bonagino, right? Right? And somewhere over here, you got old Tulsi Gabbard, who's basically been put off in the back corner somewhere in this case. And then you like, I can't even listen. Imagine how many times we could go down, and then you got the freaking FBI, okay? So what you have to understand is when you're looking at stuff like this, just because you think somebody down here and here you got all these people is able to compromise somebody over here that is in the position to cover up or destroy papers over here does not mean that you get to corrupt here. Okay, you have to go through this, and he had to be taken to a skiff somewhere and showed a folder and said either you get in line or your family is blah blah blah. Who has to, you know what I mean? And this, and then we get to this, and imagine all the people that are. This is the swamp. This is the swamp. So when people talk about this, that does not mean you think that he's to blame. Class over. Okay, thank you. Like, I just want to be clear there. So I feel like this also happens when you talk about Israel. It's like when you talk about the Israeli government, and I blame the mouthpieces for it too. They need to start saying the Israeli government. They need to just stop saying Israel. I know we do a lot about do it with America, but they need to be clear because I think that should definitely happen. But that happens there too. If you talk about that, you hate the Jewish people. Like, good Lord, help us all. Anyway.
What do you? If they say they lease like that all the time, that is not a justification. Multiple agents of multiple different agencies in one suite is not common or typical in the slightest. A joint office is common, but there's a line to draw between a joint office and at least 3 different agencies alongside contractors all operating in one place. Also, take a look at the borough's own press release from December 5th, 2024. Christopher Wray, quote, met with key partners and stressed how critical FBI partnerships are to protecting our communities. They chose to mention partners. They didn't say that he met with agents that were assigned in Wilmington. They foregrounded partnerships. That's the vocabulary that they use when the space is not purely FBI and it lines up.
Talking about meet with all these partnerships, and I don't even know if I want to say this. Screw it. I'm just going to say it because I've hinted around it for a while, and I'm just gonna. Sorry, it's my show. This is just how I feel. Could be wrong. Okay. I've always had an issue with like all these never Trumper people that were trying to take. They're the ones that took us off social media platforms. They're the ones that kicked Pam and Radix out of their bank account. Okay, like or baby processors, whatever. Okay, so whenever this last time when Trump won, I don't know if like a light got switched on. Like Trump was this big, like you ever seen those bug lights, big old blue lights, and all. I felt kind of like that. I felt like they figured out we tried everything. He got elected anyway. We need to suck up to daddy, you know? And then all these people that could said he was a racist, called us racist, and we're transphobic. All of a sudden, here's daddy. Let's just bum up. We'll shell him a bunch of money, talking about we're going to pour it to the economy. Trump's heart worrying about jobs and worrying about the American people. They promise a bunch of jobs. Trump's like, oh my God, sounds great for America. And then data centers is a real go. I don't know. Okay. That's always bothered me. So I don't know. I don't know.
Actually happening at 920 North King Street, which is
Again, if I need to draw the picture again to say just because I think these people could have does not mean I think Daddy's guilty. I can do it again. Hopefully,
FBI,
y'all can follow along. That because I think there's people, the nefarious people in these situations. That doesn't mean I think Trump is the head of the snake.
the DEA,
Lord.
and the USSS, United States Secret Service, and others are working together in a commercial tower. Here is the link for that press release. In that link, Ray confirms that the place houses private partners as well. He says, quote, if you step back and look at how much closer our partnerships are now than they were 5 or 10 years ago, it's a defining trend. I think of significance of this positive transformation. We have an entire generation of law enforcement and the private sector working together, trying to figure out how to help each other and to have each other's backs. Yeah.
How to help each other and have each other's backs, them along with the private sector.
To have each other's backs. So let's recap these facts. To have each other's backs.
FBI has 55 field officers. Okay, again, see, this just pops out. I didn't notice this till right now. The FBI has 55 field offices in major cities across the country and Puerto Rico. So just Puerto Rico, with everything going on. I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, whatever.
Facts.
Something else to look
So let's recap these facts. On September 10th, an Egyptian government aircraft with a history of flying to France and the United States lands at a small Delaware airport under a French company maintenance pretext that doesn't actually match the hangar timeline because the French visit predates the French company's deal. Within an hour, federal SUVs move from that airport to 920 North King Street. 920 North King Street has been a federal residence office since at least 1997, and today it houses the DEA, the FBI, and the United States Secret Service, all at the same address. The hangar the plane would have used is controlled through a DR.
Yeah, exactly, Chevelle, like that. And that's kind of what I had when I had my conversation with Aaron the other day. I was like, again, that's what we've all prayed for is the draining of the swamp. And you have to understand that's going to be painful. Imagine having people infiltrate and run your country into the ground for 60 years and imagine it's going to take 6 months to fix that. And that you can just openly come out and say it. Oh, by the way, we're going to do all this. So all y'all are going to be jobless. And all these are the same people in the positions to, I don't know, playing a little CP on your laptop. I would see a need to not just overtly describe all your plans and tactics. And again, Trump's book, Art of the Deal, kind of what goes along with that. I understand why you might not just want to blurt it all out. And it's going to take a while. Oh.
That itself is nested in federal waterways. The FBI also publicly talks about key partners in Wilmington on the same year that the hangar reactivates.
I'm going to write that down, next. Hang on.
I'm going to skip this next portion because he tells me how I can verify this. And like I said, I did that. Once more, go through this logic and ask yourself how this makes any sense. On November 13th, 2022, SUBTT flies from Cairo to Paris to Wichita, Kansas, to Wilmington, Delaware, back to Cairo. That is already a 4-leg, 2-continent hop that ends in Wilmington before going home. 4 days later, on November 17th, 2022, it does Egypt to Wilmington, again, departing at 8:54 a.m., and this time it stays in Wilmington until November 20th, and only then returns to Cairo. So that is 2 Wilmington arrivals in the same week. Nobody burns a government Falcon 7X on 2 separate Wilmington runs for no reason.
See that language right there? I'm going to back it up. Anybody out there, military veterans or whatever, this is what she says about burning the plane.
So that is 2 Wilmington arrivals in the same week. Nobody burns a government Falcon 7X on 2 separate Wilmington runs for no reason. I mean, just look at the choice of St. Louis, Wichita, Omaha, Lincoln, Williston, Minot, and Provo, none of these are standard diplomatic hubs. Most of those don't even have major consulates, and absolutely none of them are known for large scale Egyptian presence. So that immediately undermines the whole it's just a maintenance stop excuse. Ask yourself why else a state aircraft would hopscotch across America to remote cities if its purpose was just servicing at a defunct Wilmington Assault Center. Wilmington is undeniably a terminal point, and the only logical reason points to 920 North King Street. I could go through all of the dates and do this, but you already mapped the flights, so you already understand exactly what I'm saying. Obviously, I can't tell you how I know this or who I am or exactly who it is that I work for. My motive is simply that I can no longer keep this stuff in my head anymore. I just need somebody with a history of doing the right thing and figuring out the entire truth. I hope you can understand why I cannot verify my employment here. I took a
Then that's a slip up too. Says I can't verify my employment here.
big risk to tell the truth, and my hope is that you will at least check me on it. Analyze and verify the flight patterns.
So again, let me pause because I've so you have to be able to believe that this. You think that this letter actually came to her through? She's been putting out that more tips to Candace for 3 4 weeks. You have to believe that she's really received this through her email. You have to then turn and believe that the person that sent it to her, everything they said is legitimate, and they probably are somebody that's working inside and releasing it to her because they too feel like nobody's finding out the truth. um, then I mean, you have to, you have to put some belief into this, and you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. But what she says next, again, because I know what she's facing legally, I can just imagine her husband, Farmer, in the background being like, we could be sued into oblivion. Please be careful what you say. We got to be able to prove it. If we don't prove it, they're already looking at reasons to sue us. Okay. This is a big old business she's got going on here. She's the number one podcast in the world. So she's that to me also. I factor that in as well, right? But she said a lot of stuff in this time she's been doing this, but when she just flat out says this is the first time I've ever known her flat out just say what she's about to say.
So, I think we know why Kash Patel is out, right? I mean, I read this, checked it, verified it, and I just want to know why, Charlie. I want to know why the decision was made to murder Charlie Kirk, a decision that very clearly had to be approved by Charlie's friends. That's all I have. I want to know why.
She has hinted around, mind you, that somebody on the inside's done it. She's hinting around it could be TPSA. I've dug into the face side of it, which is, I'm telling you, got all kinds of strange stuff going on there too, and the money and all that. But like, she's setting herself up for some serious defamation stuff here. Okay.
Why? I think we deserve to know why. And instead, we're going to be sued. I guess, is this going to be the pathway forward? You're going to start murdering more people in broad daylight for knowing? Is that our consequence? Is that like the slave consequence? Is that like, catching a slave and cutting off their limbs for knowing that you're evil, for finding out, for us understanding what we have known from the moment that we saw Charlie die and people started peddling out excuses after excuse why we weren't allowed to look into this? I think all we want to know is why. We want to know what that slave did wrong. I think that's fair. I think we just want to know what he did wrong, okay? Because that email, that checks out. Yeah. Secret Service, the FBI, the DEA being involved, why this plane, the quote unquote Egyptian plane, landed into Wilmington, that checks out. So I guess to our government, what's the next move? Like, are we just going to keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to see how much money can be spent on a psychological operation to convince people not to believe their own eyes and to convince people to accept the Fed slop, to convince people that Charlie ate 3,000 pounds of energy coming at him?
I'm going to add something here too, or to divide people, have everybody back again where you want them, which is going at each other's throats.
Can we know why? We just want to know what he did. I want to know what Charlie did. I think about this. It is like, what did Charlie find out? Charlie found something out. That's it, guys. Charlie found something out and it cost him his life. That's the truth. Okay. Charlie knew something. And whatever it is big and it is ugly. And deep down, I think we know what it is. I think we all kind of know what it is.
Because she's about over, but like, I don't want to get into speculation stuff. I just, for her to make that claim is, but I'm going to show you a couple of things because I'm not going to bother skipping around her. She's already pulled the clips. She kind of gets into here talking about the Department of Scottsdale, whatever. She's gone over the planes. But like, this is the problem. This is the, regardless of how you feel, like Sean Ryan did this whole interview with this guy that was his head of Charlie security. So I went through this because he said a few things in this interview that do not make sense to me. I don't care who you are. He is head of security and going, well, I don't know why they didn't check up on that, Mr. Police officers, as he's head of security. Oh my God. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Our list of turning point lies is just getting longer every day. Yesterday, we talked about Brian Harpole, the security guy who was not convincing at all. And he basically said, we didn't have drones because looking at the rooftops, because I wasn't allowed to have drones, right? We just were not allowed to have drones that day. A lot of you emailed us and said that was a lie, actually. Again, going back to the early interviews that a lot of TPUSA people gave, Frank Turek, who was with Charlie on the day that he died, with Charlie in the hospital.
Yeah, remember, these are people that were with him. So that's, again, what a criteria for me is, were you with him on that day, actually, like around him, with him, right? What have you said about that day versus what is the other person you're saying was basically standing next to you, if not actually standing next to you? What have they said? So those things coincide. Now, you can leave room for various stipulations, minor details that people in a state of shock could overlook, right? But factual-based hard things like drones being flown over, that's something you're not going to miss.
And carry Charlie into the waiting SUV. He told Megyn Kelly something different about drones on that day. Take a listen.
In fact, when we were driving into that event, this is the first event I've gone to a college campus with Charlie. He said, Frank, if you can come help me the first couple of days, could you stay an extra day and come with me to the first event? I said, of course.
He was there.
So we're driving in, Megyn, and his team has drones up looking at the crowd from above, and they text him some video. And there's thousands.
They texted him video.
Of people there an hour before the start. And I said, Charlie, I don't like this place. There's too many buildings.
Sure you did.
And but he shrugged it off. He knew there were thousands of people there. And he knew in order to minister to people, you can't completely isolate yourself. It's just like love. You can't keep your heart in a box. You got to give it away.
His team had drones. They were texting him footage when he was in the car. So Brian Harpole lied. You see, I used to lay in my grandma's bed and watch Judge Judy with my grandma growing up. And a lot of it, actually, my grandma had a bad hip. So she sometimes had surgeries and we'd watch Judge Judy. And I remember in my brain, maybe Judge Judy made me like this. I don't know.
You got to hold on to what you just watched by this pastor. Oh, Lord, help us. Saying that he literally was with Charlie when Charlie showed him videos. They're sending him of drones flying overhead. Now, do you believe that guy? Was he telling you the truth, or was he lying to you in that interview? You try to make a little, go with your gut here, and you decide. You believe him or not.
But she used to say, if you lie, you better have a good memory.
My grandma said
that's the problem with lies. You got to have a real good memory to lie. When you're telling the truth, you don't have to have a good memory because it just happens. So you just say it. The turning point is not having a very good memory right now. And it's hard because they did so much speaking in the aftermath that they can't go back and delete files. And so we can add that to our list now of verifiable turning point lies. This list is, by the way, we're on 2 pages. Here's a second page. It's getting long. And I'm wondering why any lies are being told, right? Brian did this interview months later, and they still don't have their ducks in a row. By the way, elsewhere in that interview with Brian Harpole, the security guy with Sean Ryan, he reiterates, he doubles down on the idea that Charlie ate 3,000 pounds of energy coming.
Before she jumps there, I'm going to show you the part about the drones. I think it's important, right? I think it's in this one. Let's start from here.
It was a close protection bubble. And there's a saying on this, and there's areas of responsibility. And we cut up the areas of responsibility in this pre-meet, or, you know, when we start doing the advance. All right, we've got this, you've got this. And so, you know, they have that Overwatch capability, and they have an MOU for SWAT for that through Orem, not utilized. Don't know why. That's a question for them.
They say basically this department in here had drones and they didn't utilize them. And he says, I don't know why. You got to ask him. This is head of his security. Let me just, hold on. Where's damn Dawn when you need her? Okay. When you are head of a security team for a very high profile individual that gets death threats every day, all right, it's your job, if y'all didn't know this, to coordinate. Hey, is somebody going to be up on the buildings? And if we can't do it, do we have communication with somebody that can? Remember the whole Crooks thing about Trump? And everybody's like, what the hell's going on? They're not flying drones up here. They didn't see the dude laying prone on top of the building. None of this shit makes sense. Was any of these Secret Service looking down a scope? Then it's like, oh, he didn't have a social media footprint. Then all of a sudden, Tucker releases a video showing the dude had like 12 freaking online accounts, including Discord. Like, what? So Tucker can find that out, and they've not disputed it. They've not come back and said, oh, that was all AI made up stuff. Nope. But the FBI to this day has told us that, oh, dude, nobody. He was a ghost in the wind.
Them to ask, why didn't you call? Or why didn't you ask for assistance, especially when this crowd grew and grew and grew?
He said, why didn't you call? Why didn't you ask for assistance? This is the head of security. I mean, cannot say that loud enough.
Good police tactics. If you're out and you have 6 guys that show up and all of a sudden this thing goes from 1,500 to 2,000 to 3,000 people, you go, hey, we need some help. Mm-hmm. Swallow your pride or whatever it is. We need some help. I took 12 guys there. I had double the amount of people there that the PD had. And we're only responsible for the first 30 meters. And movement in and advance in and receiving and out. And we had 12 guys. They gave me 6 for the.
So right there, he's saying he brought 12. This is important stuff. Head of security brought 12 people in with him. And the state university, the university police only gave him 6 guys. This is what he's saying right here. Head of security, you would think you know, right? So that's kind of important. I'll write that down on a pad and keep record of that. Because then if somebody else disputes that, that's where you go back and compare things that don't add up, right?
Rest of the campus.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so that's not the question for me to say, why didn't they? That's the question for them.
No, that's where he's wrong. It's definitely a question for him. Head of security.
So there was that one. The site, man, it wasn't up to us. 2 drones.
He paid these people millions of dollars a year.
I can't break the law to do something I want to do. Otherwise, I'd have showed up with an APC.
Well, with the drones, I mean, you were in coordination with local police department, correct?
That the UVU has jurisdictional authority. It's their campus. Orem is the outside city. They weren't there because they hadn't asked. They hadn't been asked to come and we can't ask them to come.
Yes, you can. This is the part that, oh my God, yes, you can. You're head of security of a high profile person. You don't think Trump's Secret Service reaches out to the cities of where they're coming and saying, hey, by the way, this head of security of Charlie Kirk could easily have reached out to Orem and said, hey, we're coming into town. We're worried about security. There's a lot of rooftops. We know he's a private citizen. You can ask. This, oh shucks, oh golly, oh darn. We couldn't even call him on the cell phone. We didn't know how that worked. We was just banging out digits and nothing was happening. I don't buy that for a damn minute.
Can't call Orem PD and say, hey, man, send me 10 guys.
No, you can't call and say, send me 10 guys. You can call and talk to them. I don't have
the authority to do that or the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but the city, I mean, the school PD has an MOU or mutual aid agreement with them.
School.
Why not just call them and say, hey, can you guys send us 10 guys over here for Overwatch, all that? And I say that only because we had previously talked about areas of responsibility, and then the areas of responsibility, and I had and our guys all have not only an area of responsibility, but there's a job in a job. So you have your area and you have a job for that area, but then you also know the guy's area and job next to you in case he goes down or something, you have to backfill him. And then we have the bubble around the protectee. And mathematically, 2,000 people are in front of you. Where's mathematically the threat coming from?
No, you can go there. You see how many times I looked up the word drone. I'm going to get back to this other one though. But he, in this interview, he talks about how they didn't have the authority to put up drones. They couldn't put up drones. Nobody put up a drone. And she just showed you that clip of this guy saying, "Oh, they were sending Charlie Kirk footage of a drone." What do you believe? Who do you believe? Do you believe the pastor, or do you believe head of security? One of them's lying. I'll let y'all decide. I don't know why, or I don't know. Something doesn't make sense.
Take a listen.
So the bullet came
Now,
in.
this is something else. This is about the injury and stuff. So I just wanted to go back and hit that because he talks all about it in this interview about the drone, too. So,
And
by the
hit
way, that's what I was scrambling to do when I figured I was late to come relieve Sonny. So, sorry about that. I was trying to find that actual clip, and I thought I just hate doing that stuff on air, but
the
that's what.
vertebra. And so it came in and then tore up everything in the wound cavity, hit the vertebra, crushed it, shattered it, turned, crushed the second one, turned, kept going down all the way. I think they said C6.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like, why not put that info out? Why not put it out?
Sounds good.
And then,
Why wouldn't they put that out?
and if it do me a favor, don't make me do it. It's not my job.
Now, who's got control over the autopsy to release it? Now,
And
mind you,
so
there's investigation going on, too.
then it
Like,
got
all
to
these
here, and you're exactly right. And
trial
then
going
hit,
on,
I
too.
think, 6, and then fragged. And so, explanation 101. What are you hiding? Yeah. It's like I'm sitting back here when people are saying we bombed him or there's that wound. I'm like, hey, if somebody would, from an official capacity, would just release that. And I don't see how that could jeopardize a fair trial for a guy.
So to be clear, the only person that can act.
So there's that her angle of it, right? There's that letter was what bothered me, and then the two stories about the drones did not make sense to me, and like, oh, it is something. It does not make sense. And then you dig into the 7M stuff. I'll show you. There's a whole Seven Mountains, the TPUSA face side of it, where they kind of was hiring, making all these hirings in 2022. That side, I'll show you. There's a podcast here, what's it called, the Justin Peters Ministries, whatever. 5 months ago, he interviewed this guy, this John Root. Sounds the alarm about TPUSA, and this Sean Futch dude that they brought in had a lot of issues surrounding him. I've not had the time to go through this whole thing completely, but there's like some interesting. He says way before Charlie Kirk was ever assassinated, anything ever had. This is back in June. Okay, he was raising the red flag about what he found inside that faith organization that wasn't biblical. He didn't feel like was biblical. Let me be clear there. So, um, ugh. And then I need a brain cleanse. So they're gonna get. I want to get off that. I felt like I needed to do my due diligence where there are things about this case that do not make sense. They just don't. There could be explanations for them. Maybe they'll show us some evidence that'll be like, oh my God, why didn't we just get to see this? We sit there and worried for nothing. Like, oh, okay, there's a blah, 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 but like, the part that bothers me is the people that were there with him that day that have now gone online to tell their stories about what happened during that day and during the events. What they're saying contradict one another. And it's not like somebody was chewing bubble gum and I think he tripped over a wire and I don't know if the bee flew into his neck or into his arm. No, we're talking about it was drones flown that day to provide security for Charlie Kirk. Well, his head of security says no drones were flown, but the pastor that was in a car with him said Charlie was being sent footage of drones flying above. Like, which is it? It's just crazy to me. Like the worst coordination in the history of man. How to get your story straight? I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird to me. And then the whole side of this is how these people were like kind of being paid and uh, hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it. Hopefully the truth will come out. But there are weird things going on with Charlie's assassination. In my mind, my opinion. My opinion is and they're not making it any easier to believe the narrative because it's definitely not easy to believe. Again, they're contradicting themselves. And then somebody I never watch. This came out today too. So like, just God, go ahead, God. Because it's just not my cup of tea. Not saying anything bad about him. It does lead credence to like everybody's after Ben Shapiro and some of the stuff he said, the whole Tucker Ben fight, and Matt's on Daily Wire, but he's usually, to be fair, Matt is usually pretty damn level headed, right? Like he is pretty mundane, and he rarely gets himself like I don't know, kind of drug into the drama unless he's on X, by the way. But what he said today about the whole things with Crooks, now that it was following the stuff with Charlie, and then he brings up Tucker talking about Crooks. And this is Matt. This is what's happening.
That's puretalk.com/Walsh to switch to my wireless company. Details. Wilson's recent segment on Thomas Crooks, the 20-year-old man who nearly assassinated Donald Trump live on national television during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania last year. There are a few important revelations that you should know about. The first revelation, which is not remotely controversial, is that the FBI has clearly been hiding relevant facts about Thomas Crooks from the general public. And by itself, that is a national scandal that justifies completely gutting the FBI from the highest levels on down. Even if you firmly believe that Thomas Crooks was a lone gunman, and even if you believe the Secret Service was merely incompetent as opposed to complicit, the fact remains our government has been withholding important details about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life without any justification whatsoever. Now, we should not have to rely on Tucker Carlson or any podcaster to tell us that Thomas Crooks, for example, left a lengthy trail of comments on YouTube in which he openly called for political violence for several years. These calls were so overt, so disturbing that one user wrote in response to Crooks, quote, "You're on YouTube threatening to shoot government officials. I sure hope the FBI is monitoring social media."
Yeah, but by the way, these people should report them. There's an option there to report that person too. I mean, anyway.
For violent nutcases. Now, it's almost too on the nose to be real, but that comment is still available on YouTube to this day. Thomas Crooks' account has been suspended and all of his comments have been hidden. They're only accessible using the Internet Archive website, but the replies are still there.
It's just the comparison between the two on the rooftops. We got hardly getting any answers. Stories conflicting. People saying one thing and blah blah another. People that were there with him that day can't even get their stories straight. Remember the stuff that happened with Trump? That it was weird. They started trying to spin it on the local police department, but then all the police department was like, "You ain't gonna blame us. You wouldn't even talk to us on walkie talkies." Like I don't know what's going on. Something's going on though, and I'm not trying to have a crystal ball and tell you all the answers. Hell, I don't know. But something stinks. I don't even know. I don't know where the turd is at, but I know something stinks. And I don't know. Hopefully we'll get it, but I was going to go over some other stuff. But I feel like sometimes I try to relate to the people out there that need like sometimes my brain just needs a break from it, and it's what I do. I try to back away from certain things in order to take time to and think about what I've found, so I don't get too overly influenced one way or another. That's why I listened to the ballistics expert come out and say what he said. I do believe, though, I don't even know that narrative really. I believe that he said some stuff, really interesting stuff about ammunition that makes perfect sense to me. But yeah, I don't know. But I'm taking a break from my brain. I gotta share this because I forgot to do this. Pano, if you're out there, I'm sorry. But Pano had sent me some pictures for when it was Veterans Day, and all y'all know when I come on Veterans Day, I'd forgot. It kind of leads in my next thing. Um, but Pano sent me a picture apparently of his dad, and I'm gonna try and do this the safe way. Hold on. I'm trying to print. I'm trying to print. I don't really want to download it. Open in a new tab. Let's do that. That'll be safe, guys, because I'm just not trying to share. I can show you this. Open it. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm just sometimes you get into this stuff. It's like I'm just trying to read what he wrote. Hang on. Would you like to screen share? Okay, I'm just trying to be safe and not dox him. There we go. I'm gonna do it like this and drag you over here. And I need two screens. So I'm not trying to get his name in there. That would be bad. Bad, bad, bad. Oh, come on. All right, now I'm trying to zoom. Sorry, I'm just trying to be safe, y'all. This. All right. Send me this email. He said to honor Veterans Day, if you would like to screen share Washington State's Domoma National Cemetery, a few of the flags Dad and Mom are out there somewhere. Buried Mom's first in 9/13/2001. Dad 10 years later, 4 days before my birthday. Dad was a World War II was 1945 to late 1946, served in China as a medical IC for the aid station outside Chinese capital, now Beijing. The racks on back of Jeep are to carry two stretchers, his aid station just behind of him, and the four-wheel drive Willys ambulance. Later he served in Korea, then two tours in Vietnam. His forced exit from Vietnam is a very dark story. I told part of it on Pam's show. Sadly, we ran out of time. Passing over to Coach Clay so no one, so no, it's cut off. So no one's heard of the real reason he was put on the psych drugs for the rest of his life to shut him up without ending his life. I cared for him his last 10 years, 7 years, 24 hours, 7 days a week, till he advanced beyond my ability to care for him. Ironically, his last 2 years of care were given by Svetlana in her care home. She, a Russian trained registered nurse from Ukraine, and a Ukrainian assistant aide, Peter, wonderful folks in great care for Dad's last days. So I wanted to make sure to spend time to say that because he had sent that to me. And yeah, oh, I think I opened this picture too. Did I get that one too? I'm just trying to be careful, y'all. Let me see if I can bump it over there without having to unscreen share. Okay, do it like this. And then he sent that too. So, and a picture of a cat. And how that's pretty cool. Let's see if I can get his cat. Open in a new tab. Maybe drag it over here and I'll shut all this down. All right, here is Pano's cat. There we go. There you go. Shout out to Pano if you're ever out there. There is his email to me about his dad. Yeah, I'll leave that. Okay. And so there you go. All right. Woohoo. Sorry, it took me a minute to do all that, but I had it pulled up in a second window and I wanted to get to it. I don't even know if I have time to cover this, but I need the brain break. For sure, for sure. Do a lot more research than I talk about, but it is what it is. Um, I kind of want to listen to some of this. I think we will listen to some of this because I wanted to play my fat lectures and actually covered Sam Houston, which, yes, I will take that. And I don't normally play something his right after it happened, but, but, uh, Sam Houston is an amazing story. By the way, since I'm here and I'm about to just close my window, I'm going to show y'all this is coming up, and I will promise you we will be watching this. I ain't even gonna lie, my favorite people in the world that's going back on the Sean Ryan podcast, and y'all don't have to like him or not, but his name is Ryan Montgomery. He was on. He's also called the Ethical Hacker, and he's Sean dropped this promo for him coming back to his show about this that Israeli child predator dude, whatever that got sent back. So I don't know what all this is about. I love Sean Ryan though. That dude is a he started out trying to track one of his neighbor friends had found this person trying to prey on her child, and he built this whole system to track them, pedos in the background in these Yahoo chat rooms and all these open chat rooms. And he turned it over. Remember, he said he turned it over to the government and it's like he said they didn't care. They didn't do nothing with it. He said I gave them IPs and everything, evidence they had it. They did absolutely nothing. So he's coming back on. I don't care what it's about. What I'll be watching this. But here's the preview for it.
I just want to share something with you. So after all of that stuff, bad reputation with the cops, with everybody, they paid for me to go to fire school. They paid for me to go through fire school. I didn't let them down. I showed up every single day. I became an actual firefighter for 2 years. And this man, like, he didn't have to do any of that for me. I called him later in life and it was like, listen, man, like, I am so grateful for you, man. Like, you showed me that there are good people out there, you know, like people that care. That's it. We can go on the break.
That's pretty cool, man, but I do have another question.
Yeah.
But also in case after case, directly reaching into American homes, targeting teens and their families.
We were made aware of a group called 764. If you are going to Google it, I'm just providing.
I've covered 764 on this channel before several months ago. I think Radix has too. I've covered the furrydom. I've told all you guys the combination of these children getting younger and younger exposed to porn. We're talking the ages of 8 years old. This furry community is the new emo folks, but with a far more fractured brain. We're talking, you know, they lived during COVID. They went to school during COVID. A lot of them didn't get to go to graduation. Like you have kids that literally, the majority of their relationships, if not all of them, are online. Okay, and 764, it's. I hope all those people burn in hell. And I'm just saying, there we go.
Caution to you, it can be very graphic, and this group specifically was started in the United States, or I think around the Oklahoma, Texas region, in order to destabilize from within.
The founder's supposedly from Texas, and you see look at this eye. He has me and my 2-year-old sister captive. He's a sick man, and there's a kid.
You know, all the other things that we've talked about. This is probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
And they're specifically targeting young women, high school age, especially those that it might be more emotionally vulnerable.
The damn scissor. Okay, get your hair. It's chopping time.
If anybody in the back row that doesn't understand what happened there, he's forcing this young girl to chop all of her hair off. That's PG. That's G-rated.
They congregate on the internet and they dox, meaning like release personal information on people. They SWAT, meaning they send SWAT teams to people's houses.
This is what's so dangerous for men, because I've been swatted twice, and this is not how the local police treated me. Again,
I was just on the phone getting this delivered. So somebody that's in here right now fucking got my apartment.
Are the guns blazing? Are they coming there, barging through the door, taking her down? Oh, because she's a female. They're like, what's going on, man? Are you okay? Boys are like, they're not asking questions.
Get recordings of them being swatted so they can use it to brag. They're going to say all these horrible things so that a SWAT team, responds. And that's what swatting is. I've personally been swatted 3 times.
And they are essentially blackmailing them into either sex exploitation, self-maiming, suicide, and it is a massive problem.
I'm not really worried about them. It's more so the 764 group that stemmed from the comm, which is a whole different set of evil that I've never seen.
As the FBI continues to investigate the brutal killing of Charlie Kirk, their jobs on other cases obviously don't stop. The agency tonight is warning about a different but very chilling threat called 764.
They have a whole handbook. They train each other on how to extort minors into doing.
They have a whole handbook. I want you to pay attention to these things. I love my annotate, by the way. I get my money worth out of this thing just by probably using this, right? Look at this, 3-hour and 48-minute read. So imagine how massive this document is that they're saying it's going to take you almost 4 hours to read it. Oh, what are they telling you? How to earn money by selling explicit content you receive from sextortation from your victims. Blackmail anyone online through the use of explicit content using various strategies. Step-by-step instructions for everything there is to know about carrying out a successful sextortion scheme. Manipulate your targets into sending explicit content using dark psychology before blackmailing them. Detailed instructions on how to protect yourself from law enforcement based on my 7 years of sextortation experience. Been doing it for 7 years, bragging about it. Apart from free and regular updates, we're always ready to help you. This is not a niche thing. This is not 10 kids in a basement with pizza pockets. All right. This is becoming something people need to pay attention to.
These horrible things.
It's a loose and very sick network of online predators who use social media to blackmail kids into committing violent acts against themselves or others.
Make her lift up her shirt.
I will be reporting you to the police.
No, you won't do shit.
I think it would end here, right? Watch what happens.
What?
The girl's back. The dad gives her the computer back.
He says to this, listen to this. This looks like a dad that has stepped into the picture when he's told her to lift up her shirt. Then tells the dad says, I'm going to call in law enforcement. And the dude says, no, you're not. And what Ryan said in this clip is like, you think that would be the end of it? He said, no, apparently he gives her the computer back because there she is back on the computer.
Make her lift up her shirt.
He's telling him, make her lift up her shirt.
I will be reporting you to the police.
No.
I'm reporting you to the police. He said, no, you're not.
You won't do shit.
I think it would end here, right?
Listen.
Watch what happens. The girl's back. The dad gives her the computer back.
What?
Yeah, watch.
The FBI says it has 250 open investigations.
250 open investigations. And these are people passing out handbooks how to avoid law enforcement. So if they got 250 cases going, how many are out there?
Into the group.
Oh my gosh, dude.
She explains how predators are.
And I talk to y'all about this. This is one of these topics. Look at the date here. This isn't from 3 years ago. This is 9/1 of 2025 at 6 o'clock in the morning. This word is abused. YouTube doesn't like that word, but oh well. I choked it too. I didn't mean to. I never meant to. That's K. It starts with a K and ends with an L. My cat. They get them to do things online. It's like our 1990s version of Faces of Death. This is in real-time reality. They're using the internet to do it. And they're making real-time videos of it and selling this smut. It's a problem.
Scanning online games like Minecraft and Roblox for young girls.
Everybody knows what happened with Roblox. We all know what's happening with Roblox right now. And they were protecting the pedophiles over the people trying to expose them.
Up here, there isn't a drought of kids on Roblox.
See, he says right there's not a drought of kids on Roblox.
The FBI is warning that this new network has a potential national security implication.
Here's an 11-year-old victim they're selling for money.
They're selling an 11-year-old for money. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll show you one of the most disturbing interrogations I've ever watched in my life. Because I don't know what to do. Sometimes I feel like it's like some of the stuff is so heavy for people they don't want to hear it. But it's like I want to take those people and shake them and be like, you cannot plug your ears. This is a problem.
And that is syncing with a rolling code system. Figured I'd get it out there so people are aware of it. I think I just heard it.
I think you just hit it.
Yeah, I was aiming a little higher to try to hit it.
All right. Brian, what are you doing to take care of yourself? I worry about you, man. In your face.
Guess to tell me he was HSI?
For what?
Don't know. He just
Now
wanted me to
he's talking about the intimidation factor where he has FBI agents following him around and he knows that they're there.
come down and sit down and talk to him. He never told me why, but I assume it's the database. What else would it be? I mean, if there was something criminal, he would have arrested me.
I was extremely worried for you.
Because it seemed like I was getting arrested.
Well, shit. I mean, I remember when we went to the Sound of Freedom premiere with Jim Caviezel, you know, for the
FBI
opening.
was there.
They went with Jim Caviezel, the star of Sound of Freedom, to watch the premiere of that movie, and this is what happened.
Yeah, they're fucking harassing you.
Yeah.
They're texting you, hey, don't be alarmed, but we see you over there.
Yeah.
Dude, I was fucking pissed.
I remember
I was
how
so
pissed you were.
fucking pissed. One, I'm sitting right next to you. You guys had the opportunity to do your fucking job years ago. You didn't do it. More kids got exploited. And now you're sitting here fucking with my friend who's trying to do the right thing. Maybe go do the right fucking thing and save some kids.
She's with JCW, Jewish Community Watch, an organization that hunts down accused pedophiles who flee to Israel from the U.S., exploiting a process called law.
Now, before anybody loses their rabid freaking mind, the reason why they're bringing up Israel, because everybody talks about our ally, but if you're a pedophile in America and you're also Jewish, you can flee to Israel and they will keep you there. They will not extradite you to America. That's a fact.
Return.
At the Israeli, cyber fucking
There are
command.
other countries that do it, I'm sure, but this was just in the news, so.
Or whatever, got caught luring in kids to have sex with in a hotel room.
Senior Israeli cyber officials. There's all this stuff happening in Vegas, too.
I tweeted this out. Did we prosecute that individual? No. We packaged him up and fucking sent his happy ass back to Israel. No consequences whatsoever. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, so I will be watching that. Depends on how much time I have for y'all. This dude, it's just, he answered me one time, I think it was that Rocco, that famous soccer guy. What's his name? He just went to the Trump dinner. Trump talked about Barron, Loving, and Ronaldo. Ronaldo was trying to find somebody in the stands. This probably happened about 6 months ago. He was like, I need somebody who knows facial recognition. And I went down below it and I said, you need to talk to. And I tagged this dude, Ryan Montgomery's X tag on it. And that he actually commented, came back. It was liked my comment or something. I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway. Oh, I could go on angles. I just watched, because when I find stuff like this out, what I try to do is I try to research it. Again, researching it can be difficult because people have agendas, people use propaganda, people can lie to you. All that stuff is true. So typically, what was it that I just saw? Where they got ruined these kids' lives, this whole family's lives, trying to call out a whatever. Well, we won't get into that. That'll make my damn head hurt more because I don't want to have the debate. I swear that's why I think that's why MAGA's being divided, because typically any other time MAGA would be like, oh, there's some people in MAGA that have questions about Israel and the Israeli government and all the money we're sending over there. All right, well, let them go off on a tangent. They've seen something that catches their attention. Whatever. We have that happen here in MAGA because we're free speech people. No big deal. We don't agree with them. I don't agree with them. I think that, they're a big ally for ours or whatever. That's typically how it goes. And are you telling me that you think when Maha joined us that all those people were anti-abortion and pro-life? And nobody in MAGA lost their damn mind. We're the one that come up with the moniker Maha. And so that happened. And we're like, oh, yeah, build the bigger tent. That's what we don't want to do is run a bunch of people off. What has this done? What is this Israeli government? What is it doing to the MAGA movement? It's ripping it apart. And people want to lay blame on each side. How about we just not blame anybody? How about we just not let that shit fraction us and be like, all right, you might say that I don't agree with you. You say that I don't agree with you or whatever. Whatever. But okay, what I'm gonna do is because y'all are with me, and hopefully,
What was going on?
feel like this dude. I like finding stuff that's before the controversy, right? So this is why I pulled this and did to watch some of it. I think it's important. Um, why is it important to me? Why did I chose this one to watch? Because there's a lot more. There's a lot more people talking about TPS faith because it came out way before anything ever happened to Charlie. So what's this dude's motive? You know what I mean? So when all that stuff came out about Russia and Ukraine and Putin and all that other stuff, I found people that were talking about it, giving lectures at colleges 12 years ago. I didn't find the content creator, I don't know. So there's some stuff that he says what he saw in TPUSA Faith, which is I find funny in the money. Funny in the money.
And covered sports from more of a Christian and conservative angle that you're not seeing from Fox and ESPN. And I've always been a Christian, so I was starting to break things down from a biblical worldview that I think sports needed a lot. And then I got introduced to Reformed theology. And I got connected with people like my good friend Costi Hinn out here. And
he just in the beginning talked about he was in sports, a kind of like commentator in sports. But he was
guys at Apologia. And I think God did an amazing work, not only in sports and culture and politics as I was working for Turning Point. And then that led me to being a contributor with TPUSA Faith. So people might want to try to turn off the channel now that they're hearing that. And there's a lot of things
there's a reason to turn off the channel because he said it because back in June it wasn't fancy to talk about Turning Point if you're conservative. Because again, Charlie's irreplaceable.
Led me there. I didn't like how it was being created. It was very ecumenical. They were trying to connect with so many different people of faith just to try to get them to vote. Kind of seemed like the marketplace in the church. And then they seemed like they were really going in a direction that's like, the Bible's our foundation. And I'm like, all right, if you truly say the Bible's your foundation and that the only way we see revival in America is by...
See, again, I'm going to insert here when I don't really have a big problem with that, right? So like if you're just trying to save your country and you're saying, okay, there's people in the Turning Point faith, right? TPUSA faith that's building this house and they're reaching out to all kinds of denominations, to try and bring them all together to all vote a certain way. I don't have now again. So my focus would be up here. Who is the one deciding, making these rules? And that's like the TPUSA. So they could have there could be agenda there, right? Again, so I don't necessarily see the problem with trying to bring faith-based people together. That's smart to me.
Christ followers turning back to him, preaching the word, and seeing that be effective not only in government, but our personal lives and our churches. Let's go for it. And then that led me to get connected with other people like Sean Foyt. You got other people that are in the NAR movement, Word of Faith stuff. And I was starting to not just get a peek behind the curtain, I was behind the curtain with a lot of really wild stuff. And, now I'm an independent content creator and journalist. Huge players in that. They are literally getting funded to push the NAR movement. Yep. And at that point, I'm going back and I'm feeling a real spiritual heaviness. And I'm like, okay, I know you guys have charismatic leanings here, so I'm not doing the whole like, here's where I'm at from the reform side. It's like, no, just here, fake healings, using the Lord's name in vain to elevate themselves, make bigger pocketbooks for themselves through tithing, acting like people are giving cheerfully to the Lord, but it's actually just going to them. The New Apostolic Reformation, it's hard to get, people that aren't familiar with that to understand the significance behind why this is such an issue. Right. And to wrap up this first telling of this, Justin, is...
So he talks about how And you're going to run into this religion anyway. You run into it in this room where people feel like they're the right Christian. They know the Bible better. Therefore, they're the better proselytizer. And if you disagree with them, those are the same kind of people be like, well, you don't love God. Like I'm just like, holy crap. This is where I get a little bit like it irritates me. Like you don't, but and I'm like, yeah, I like turning to these people like, and you call yourself Christians? Like, yeah, you need to talk about it. If you feel like somebody's got it wrong or whatever, but like the name calling and hate stuff, I don't know what you think you're achieving there. Have a conversation with people about it. Tell them where you're coming from. But like calling people names and stuff like that, I don't know. It's crazy to me. But not so, not so. All right, let me see. I'll pull this up. Hold on, because I'm not see sign the Epstein files. Holy crap! Well, yippee ki yay, momos. All right, I pulled this from Sunny. Thank you, Sunny, in chat. She posted. Let me see what this is about. So he did. He signed the Epstein Transparency Act, and the files will now be released. Trump, this latest hoax will backfire on the Democrats just as all of the rest have. What does he say? Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, was a lifelong Democrat. Okay, stop with it. Donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians. To be fair, they did it what Republicans do, and was deeply associated with many well known Democratic figures and Republicans, such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times, Larry Summers, who just resigned from many boards, including Harvard, sleazebag political activist, sleazebag, what is it funny? Reid Hoffman, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who asked Epstein to donate to his campaign after Epstein was charged, Democrat Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and many more. I think Plaskett, is that the one that they charged with actually messaging her back and forth when she was like in a hearing or something? Perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. Well, I mean, to be fair, like he knows what would happen if he didn't. What that would imply, right? As everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass the bill in the House and the Senate, respectively, because of this request. The votes were almost unanimous. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in favor of the passage. At my direction, the Department of Justice has already turned over close to 50,000 pages of documents to Congress. I'm going to pump the brakes right here, though. This is where people's problems start because remember, we were told for the last 3 months there was nothing left. They didn't have any more documents, Or it was we're protecting victims. We don't want to name victims. But then Kash Patel went testify in front of Congress again. What was it? Probably a couple months ago, where he said, "Oh, he's not seen any evidence that Epstein trafficked people to anybody else." It's just like, oh God. I mean, I cannot sit here and tell you in good conscience that I just swallow that stuff. And it's like I don't remember what was said and then what a narrative is being pushed, right? I just can't do it. I don't care if it's Trump or Biden or Bushy Manila. I don't give a damn. Like if something stinks to me, I'm going to tell you I smell a turd. And that might make some of you mad. But it is what it is. I am who I am. And I don't know. Maybe I'll get hated for it, but it just, I don't know. Anyway, do not forget the Biden administration did not turn over a single file or page related to Democrat Epstein. He is going to say, how many times he said Democrat now? Like 45. Nor did they ever speak about him. Democrats have used I'm going to say it loud every time he does this because it's become repetitive. Democrats have used the Epstein issue, which affects them far more than the Republican Party, in order to try and distract from our amazing victories, including the great, big, beautiful tax cut bill, strong borders, no men and women sports, or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, lowering prices, biggest tax and regulation cuts in history, ending 8 wars, rebuilding our military, knocking out Iran's nuclear capabilities that they told us there wasn't any, getting trillions of dollars invested in the USA, and creating the hottest country anywhere in the world. Did y'all know we were the hottest country in the world? Girl, get out your bikinis because it is hot in here. And even delivering a huge defeat to the Democrats on the recent shutdown disaster. For years, our great nation has had to endure Russia, 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 Ukraine, 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 and Pete Chokes 1 and Pete Chokes 2, and many other Democrat created witch hunts and scams, all of which have been so terrible and divisive for our country and have been done to confuse, deflect, distract from the great job that Republicans and the Trump administration are doing. The latest, I wish I could do a Trump accent. The latest hoax will backfire on the Democrats, just as all of the rest have. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. And that's what I say when I try to be fair with all this stuff. So I've watched a lot of these people come out and I'm just going to riff for a minute, whatever. And yeah, I could probably do it. Um, like Trump is right. The amount of stuff that they have found with the drug trafficking, the kids they've discovered in really horrible conditions. I wish I could see more of it. I wish 764 would be taken down. But those are achievements that the Trump administration has the right to brag about, because I think most of us know that if Kamala won, none of this stuff would probably be done. That's just real. That's just the truth, right? And then when people come out with the Epstein files, be like, look, I saw Trump's name between these two parties talking about Trump. I was like, well, what did Trump say? Oh, well, he wasn't in the email. I'm like, oh, okay. So if I send an email to my sister and I'm like, phew, I saw Trump's naked ass last night in the strip club riding down a pole, then that's supposed to be evidence that Trump did something? I'm going to get my Google account fired up because I cannot stand Swalwell and Schiff. So that's what I look at. I'm like, okay, that's not evidence to me. That's hearsay, right? That doesn't hold up in a court of law. Why are we talking about it? But that's why I was so adamant in the beginning of sharing that thing with you that Candace read. I was like, these are the things you're going to have to believe, that she actually received this from a credible source. And that's a lot of what ifs. And that's all stuff people should factor in, too. Just because you hear something doesn't make it true. Or just because something's in an email to two completely different people, it doesn't mean somebody else is guilty. I think there's a lot of people. I think it's what we've always known. I feel like I don't know. We drank the Kool-Aid, fell asleep for 5 years, and woke up, and all of us have, like, people have amnesia. We have always known that Epstein would incorporate both sides of the aisle. Are any of y'all shocked by that? Would any of you be shocked that if both Democrats and Republicans were found in these files? I'm not. Important CEOs of organizations that some might vote Democrat, others might. I don't care. I personally don't give a damn. If you've hurt a child or trafficked a child or broke laws in this country that none of us would get away with, then I don't care who you are. All I care is whether or not you actually face the consequences of your actions, like all of us would. And I think that's what most people are calling for. Because we watched what they did to people. We watched the law get abused against people that did basically nothing wrong, which was on January 6th. How long, how many millions of dollars were spent to send SWAT teams at 5:30 in the morning to kick down the door of a married man with 2 or 3 kids that has never probably even gotten arrested or a ticket in his life because he was standing in the grass somewhere one day? And even the people that went inside, the amount that just stayed in the ropes and just walked along, but they was on a tour that day. And the Democrats were calling for their heads on spikes. So yeah, we've seen the Department of Justice be corrupted. By God, we have a victim on this channel from it. I-70 went through all that shit. And so it's just, I don't know. I don't like the wedge being drove in between MAGA for things that we should just be able to say, oh, they don't agree with me on this topic. It's, sucks. And I don't see how they came to that conclusion. But hey, the core of us, all we care about is the truth and justice and the secure border. and taking care of Americans first and making sure we're not sending millions of dollars over to any country before we got veterans pulled up off underneath the bridges, and we're going out there sending maybe a few vans to check on the people under the age of 30 that have major drug addiction problems. Then hey, and I'm not saying just only under 30. I'm thinking we round those up, hopefully start getting them into treatment first, and then we can follow through with people older than that stuff. But I think most Americans would be like, I could see my tax dollars going to drug treatment facilities or things like that for American people that maybe didn't have the best childhood and got subjected to drugs at an early age, and now you have these poor people that are living on the street out of their mind, zombified out. But no, let's send billions of dollars to a foreign country to teach transgender acceptance. I guess I don't know. I just think that matters. I think that matters to a lot of us. You know, that we take care of Americans before we take care of people we don't even know who they are. So good on him. Hopefully so that's what I'm saying about the emails. The email thing, I need some evidence. Show me some evidence. You just saying that Trump was on a plane with somebody is the same way that you're saying that I was on a plane at the same time somebody was sitting in the back. I had no clue it was. Like, I need some actual hardcore evidence because we know about Russia. We all look at the dossier. I would think, okay, listen, this is just me being a little crazy here, but just follow with me. I would think if they were that adamant about getting Trump out of office because they were worried that he was going to be a bull in the china shop, they went to the extent of creating a dossier being paid for by actual Russian spies, by Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, that maybe they couldn't find anything legitimate on him. I don't know. Call me crazy. But I'm feeling like if you got to fake some evidence, then there ain't anything real you can pinpoint. And I think maybe there is some credence to Trump was concerned that he knew his names was all in there, and he knows what's happening to the social media world where people, like with Charlie Kirk's death, look how many different angles people have taken after his death to imply that this people are involved or that person is involved or this gun ain't right or this location doesn't make sense or whatever. And Trump thinking about they're going to see my name in it, he's probably tired of being accused of everything under the sun. Maybe that could, I can see that. But I hope, especially MAGA. I'm talking to MAGA that don't want to have no knockdown, drag out, split down the crack of your ass over Israel. MAGA that don't want to like listen and say, oh, they're out of the club because they don't agree with me on everything else. Like, hey, the big things are what matter. Truth, justice, and people being thrown in fucking jail for breaking the law. I don't know. But I think because I remember when I also told all y'all I always felt like we were being trained for something, for the Q followers, all the ridicule and the stuff that we took and the making fun of us, and it worked. Look how many people have meant they were part of the Q group. Look at anybody ever uses where we go when we go all. We've been silenced because it's a quick way to say something about somebody to discredit them and mock them and laugh them. But if you go look at anything that Candace Owens is covering about the questions she has about Charlie Kirk's death. You people were doing that shit 7 years ago with whatever case, insert whatever thing there, whatever we were told about Laurel Canyon or whatever we were told about this government or these planes. Or I mean, we had the plane fags over in 4chan forever. What were they doing? Tracking planes. And I'm just like, that's why I said I feel like I've taken some kind of Kool-Aid, fell asleep for 5 years, woke up, everybody's like lost their minds. Like we were the original crews, like digging into whatever. We just wanted to get to the truth. That's all that mattered. So I think that so I put faith in Trump's, like the MAGA folks that know how to actually discern information and read through it and say, is there anything here? Is there evidence here that he did anything wrong to a child? If there is, hey, show it to me. And if you show it to me, I have to be a big enough person to say, okay, it's there. It is there. He should be held accountable, just like I would be calling for anybody else. But you got to show me, show the evidence, and then we'll get to there. But These emails from back and forth of other people ain't convincing me of nothing. And now they're like going after Steve Bannon and the emails between him and I will say again, this is just my personal hope that Steve says he has these dozens of hours of video of his interview with Epstein. I think Bannon should put that out. I mean, we're all about transparency and the truth. If he's got dozens of hours of content where he's been in an interview with that interviewing Epstein, I mean, put it out, brother. Again, Jeffrey Epstein was connected to a lot of people, both sides of the aisle, Hollywood to politicians to whoever. He was probably working for Mossad and MI6 and the CIA. He was probably just a blackmail guy, just like Ghislaine's dad, Ghislaine's father probably was. It's like all these intelligence agencies commingle. If you ever look into these operations, they commingle all the time. If they can convince each other that the objective that they're on will help all of their people that's difficult. See, this is why I'm hindering, because you really can't say a government. Doesn't have to be a government. It could be an entity, right? But they will come together and utilize their forces and their talents and skills to run an objective. Yeah, anybody that hasn't studied psyops or these, and there's nothing wrong. And again, if Israel is involved, so America. Look how many times America's been involved. That's why it blows my mind anytime it talks about the Israeli government. People are just like, oh, hey, Jesus. And I'm like, what? I don't know. Because I talk about my government all the time. Because they're a bunch of corrupt losers that seemed, I swear to y'all, I've been riffing too long. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble. I don't even care. But I swear I feel like a lot of people that get involved in our government as well as others probably start out as really good people and they have good intentions and their heart's in the right place. Right? They want to do what's right by their country. And depending on where they fall in these organizations, are you going to see some stuff we need you to just unsee or delete or throw in the shredder? Do those people then get taken into some shit, a skiff somewhere or some underground tunnel somewhere, whatever, and two men that come out in black coats and a flashlight with a file and this is what we got on you and your wife and oh, that boy you love so much, and this is where we know this is where the drones we got flying, and if you don't get on board, we're not gonna worry about you, but we're gonna worry about all the people you love. Here's a picture of them standing in their kitchen 2 minutes ago. You can't say what you would do. I don't know. People think that they know what they would do. That's why if you're ever in intelligence and you're trying to get information out of somebody, you never go for the person. You always go for the people that person loves, because they will keep their mouth shut and be willing to die for their country if it's only their lives they're putting in harm's way. But the minute you turn and focus on the few people in their life they truly care about, that's how you can almost get the strongest person to break. If you've read any of these books or studied any of this stuff. They're not dumb. They've been doing it for decades. So, and I know y'all have seen this clip. Man, I got time I played it a couple times, but my God, it's the one that I just cannot unsee. The Cash Patel and the Dan Bonagino and that Maria, Barta, whatever her name is, when they're talking about the Epstein files. And they literally both look like they have been injected with something before they went out there. And they're like, no, we promise. We know. We've seen all the evidence. And we told you there was no more to look at. He took his own life, y'all. And we are going to release the footage from a camera 45 feet away that doesn't even show the staircase nor the door. And that's going to be your evidence. It's like, what? I wish something would be written into law. God would come down himself and just inscribe it on something that says, for this week of this year, any question you're asked, you have to tell the truth. No matter what. You cannot lie. And then we all need to dispatch each other out to our you know, respected areas and go to the places we all know we need to be and just ask the question. What happened with JFK? Who was involved? Like everybody, I want names. You know, like where was Crooks? What's this Twigs person? Why'd they go missing? You know, it's getting wintertime out in the country. All the spider just trying to find a place to get warm. Apparently, anyway. I don't know. I don't mean to riff on y'all too long. It's just I'm sure some of you out there feel the same way. It's just like and I think I told y'all in the beginning I was going to tell y'all how I feel. I think that's the goal is to overwhelm people with so much information they don't know which way to turn. They don't know who's telling the truth. And that goes all the way back to the old adage divide and conquer. So just don't let them divide us. Let people have their opinions on the Israeli government. Let people have their opinions on on Netanyahu, as being a force. Because again, I saw laid out here right here quick with you. I understand to try and lay both sides how I see it. And again, could be wrong, so don't. It's my opinion. But I get why people feel like Israel is an ally out in the middle of the Middle East. We're surrounded by majority Muslim countries that, in practice Sharia law. 90% of Saudi Arabia's workforce are basically labor camp slaves. They are. That's why every time Trump hangs around with that the Muhammad al whatever from Saudi Arabia, it drives me a little nuts because I kind of know what's happening in his country. And again, but I know what it means. Trump just wants peace. He's not trying to tell Saudi Arabia how to run their country. It is what it is. Okay. He's a diplomat. He knows the best thing for America is to keep the peace. Okay. But I understand why people feel the way that they do about Israel. I'm trying to remove the biblical out of it because that'll get me on a conversation about 70% of Israel secular. They don't believe in God. They don't believe they have any rights to the land. 70% of Israel because they're not, they can't use the Bible if they don't believe it. You know what I mean? But I can see how people, if you see enough about what Islam can truly do, radical, right, terrorists and such. But I also see on the other side of it where it's like America send all these billions and billions and billions of dollars. And if you kind of watched what Netanyahu was doing around Trump, it seemed like our president was being disrespected. With Iran, or we're going to do whatever. We're going to go blow up in Qatar while we're trying to negotiate stuff. And Trump even said it. Trump said a lot of things on air. But like whenever he came out, said we got two people here, neither one of them know what the f they're doing. He was frustrated. He was ticked off. He's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with these people that all they want to do at the end of the day is just eradicate each other off the face of the earth? And you could be honest about that, right? You could say that. You could be like, oh, yep, that's kind of how I feel. I'm to that point. I feel like this is the greater good. But, it is what it is. As an early old MAGA person, I'm just going to be like, yeah, that's not worth dividing. I think the one thing in this country that I think has real movement to change and drain the swamp, you got because Trump, his base actually can move him. MAGA can move him. And anybody out there trying to corrupt him knows that. So what's the best way to try and confuse Trump is to get a hold of MAGA and rip it apart. Then he's to have this massive force of people on the left and the middle and the right that again, if you don't know what happened during Robert Kennedy, rewind the tape, Maha and all that, if you think those were Republicans, I got a ship to sell you. But but they were kind of enveloped in because why? Because of everything we've been through with COVID and we knew what Robert Kennedy was saying, Bobby Kennedy was saying, about what happened during the COVID. And we were like, go get him, Bobby. So we sucked him in. We was like, oh, yeah, COVID screwed us up. You go out there, Maha, we got you, Maha. We believe in abortion up to 14. We don't care. We'll handle all that later. Go get them over that vaccine. And now it's like all those people, I forgot all that. I'm just like, we got to tear each other apart. That's what matters most is letting them win. And I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. I'm going to let people have their opinions about Israel. I'm going to let their people, have their discrepancies and their issues with other people and what they say about it, and let them debate it. Let them go out. But anybody that tells you, okay, again, just my opinion, you take it or leave it, y'all. It's up to you. But anybody that tells you that you need to not bring somebody on to talk to them or platform them, be leery. People that are trying to shut down conversations again, because we lived through it. We're the real first victims of it. So now why anybody in this base would be calling for other people to be silenced blows my mind. I don't understand it, nor do I agree with it. And so I don't know. I could be completely off, but it's been a challenge for me to sift through all this crap and try and get to the truth. And who do you believe and who do you listen to? And that's another thing. And I'll go back and say it. I've not forgot. It's in the filing cabinet of a Tucker Carlson filing cabinet where he said one thing about, how propaganda works. Okay, it just does. He wasn't honest about what he knew about his dad. He wasn't. He's got to live with that and own it. He did go on, I think, with Megyn Kelly and say it was difficult for him because it was about his dad. Some of the stuff that was said was true. Well, also some of the stuff said was true was you weren't honest about knowing who your dad was. Why did you do it? I don't know. But he did. So that's there too. So I don't know. It is what it is. Oh, let me skim through. See, I've just been going. It's been. I think I feel like if it's been heavy on my mind, maybe it's been heavy on some of y'all's too. It's just like the constant. It's like the objective is to rip it apart. The objective is to silence the most massive group of individuals that includes so many people on every side of the aisle to come together for one reason, to try and bring back some patriotism to our country and trying to get things achieved, the bigger things achieved. We'll worry about the smaller things later. Because Trump listens. If MAGA's loud enough, he listens. It's like we're the cancelers, and he's worried about it. I don't know. Which is a good thing, which means he listens to his base. So what do you do to his base? You shut him up. But that's kind of trying to call him a Mossad spy that's out to ruin our country, or calling the other side anti-Semites that hates all Jewish people. I don't know. Pick your poison. But to me it's a goal to try and divide both sides, and I just don't want to do it. Charlotte, North Carolina is posting a link on their website for people to sign up to be a part of ICE Border Patrol Watch. Oh, good Lord, what? Because I only got a couple minutes and we'll spin through this because I've riffed enough. It says WBTV in Charlotte, North Carolina is posting a link on their website for people to sign up and be a part of the ICE Border Patrol Watch. Training sessions have been occurring since last week as Custom and Border Protection agents target Charlotte area as part of Operation Charlotte's Web. Well, that's a catchy little thing. The latest phase of President Donald Trump's immigration reform is ever. Why is this the latest phase? Oh, maybe it just means as the latest in a series of more to come. Sign up here, be a part of it, whatever. Go for it. If you live in North Carolina, you go out and telling those people trying to get dox ICE. They're going to have a band of patriots out there protecting them because these people are crazy. Have a tenant exclusive. What? Now, by the way, y'all see what I've just done? I've just literally clicked on my thing. Gabrielle Rico, Jimenez 21, was filmed after claiming to have attended an exclusive elite party. She disappeared that night, was never seen again. All right, y'all, we're just going off the riff. I got 2 minutes.
Was a famous Spanish model who was invited to an Illuminati party. She ran out from everything she had seen. Listen.
I don't speak Spanish. They eat humans. Oh, good Lord. Is Hillary Clinton there? Every time somebody says that, I think about that story about Katy Perry that went to, I think it was London, where she did that radio show. They'd asked her a question about the weirdest stuff she'd ever ate or she'd be willing to try, and she brought up like human something. I don't remember. Like I remember that always. I flash back to hearing that. Taking me anywhere to clear all this up. All right, then. I've seen crazier stuff. But yep, there it is. I'm on my we're in my North Dakota time. So y'all got 8 seconds, you two. And my time is up. It's time for Tim and Coach Clay to cheer you guys up. We have been down the gamut of news today. Hopefully, y'all found it entertaining. I kind of riffed a lot of it because I had a lot of questions the last couple of months. But it is y'all's time to shine and my time to get the out your way. Sound good?
I do, Laura.
All righty.
All right. Have a good one, guys. Bye,
Have a great
everybody.
night.
All right, you too.